And my next guest is the journalist who got the ball rolling on all of this when he told David Grush's story to the world for the very first time here on News Nation. Award-winning investigative journalist Ross Culthart joins me live now. Ross, I have to say, ever since we heard Marco Rubio say that last night about the fact that there are other people who have come forward with first-hand accounts, I've been dying to get your reaction, because it just felt like it was a moment in this entire process that we haven't seen before.
You're absolutely right, Brian. This is a very significant moment. To have Senator Rubio coming out and saying what he said is extraordinarily significant. I've known for some time, and I've said to you, and I've said in our original story, that there are other multiple witnesses, whistleblowers, who are backing Mr. Grush's allegations. In fact, they've given their evidence under oath, not only to the Congress, but also to the Inspector General. And there are other people waiting in the wings with whom I'm in contact who are waiting to see how Mr. Grush is treated by the Congress. They're anxious to make sure that he's treated with respect and that he's given a fair go by the congressional investigators. And not only am I really heartened by Senator Rubio saying what he said, because he didn't have to say it, I noticed that on the other side of the House, Senator Gillibrand, a Democrat from New York, of course, has come out, and she's also supported the call for an open hearing. And in the lower house, in the chamber, you've got Representative Mike Gallagher has also come out in support of Tim Burchett's call in the House for a hearing in the House. So this is a bipartisan push. There are clearly things that these Congress people and senators know that they can't discuss publicly because they're the subject of a security classification order. And I think it's really terrific that this is finally coming before the Congress.
And it's my understanding, Ross, that David Grush is willing to testify publicly. So we will probably see that happen soon. I mean, you'll see David Grush on the big screen talking to members of Congress. I have to ask you, though, because I'm sort of new to this world. I haven't covered UFOs a ton in the past. This is something that you are truly an expert in and have been covering for a long time. I'm just wondering, why is no one else picking up on this at this point? I mean, we broke the story on News Nation, but now you've got high-level government officials. You've got Senator Marco Rubio saying that there are other whistleblowers out there that he knows about with firsthand accounts. We're in the planning stages of hearings. Why is the mainstream media still not picking up on this? How is this not on the cover of the New York Times and the Washington Post?
You know, it's funny, Brian, I'm a bit of a student of the 1970s Watergate affair, and it took weeks and weeks and weeks for Woodward and Bernstein's stories in the Washington Post to finally sit up and start getting noticed by the rest of the media. Full marks, by the way, to News Nation for giving the story the run it deserves. I think a lot of people have been waiting for Mr. Grush to be discredited, for somehow the Pentagon to come out and give a reason to disbelieve what he says. We're over 3 weeks now into this story, and they have not laid a glove on his credibility. And the reason why is because they can't. Mr. Grush is a patriot. He's a good man. He's backed by multiple corroborative witnesses, and all he wants is for his story to be heard. And I guess students of history would know that it often takes other media time to follow up a legitimate story. And that's what I think is happening here with News Nation's exclusive. I think the rest of the media are, to some degree, hoping like hell that the story fails, because that's the way the media works. But if they worked their sources, as I've been doing now for years, they would know that this is a legitimate story. This is a serious, scandalous accusation being made by a highly reputable patriot who's genuinely concerned that the American people do not know the full truth about a scandal that has been allegedly kept for over 80 years. He's alleging criminal behaviour, as he told me in the interview. He believes strongly that there is suspicion to believe that people have been murdered to protect this secret. You don't get any more serious than that.
Yeah.
And I'm just gobsmacked. I have to agree with you. It amazes me that few other media, great newspapers like the New York Times, the Washington Post, have completely dropped the ball on this. And in fact, what they've done is they've run stupid little articles that have ridiculed and tried to marginalize the story, little green men references and things like that. And I don't think the public buy it anymore. I do believe strongly that Mr. Grush has raised prima facie strong evidence of a cover-up, of an enormous criminal scandal.
You make a good point. I mean, at this point, 3 weeks out, if he had any dirty laundry, someone would have dug it up by now. We did an insane amount of vetting of him before we did the initial story. You did your own vetting. So we were confident going in. But now, again, I just don't get it. I mean, even putting him aside, Marco Rubio going on the record, other members of Congress going on the record, the planning stages of public hearings. I just don't understand how other stories get so much coverage and this one sort of just gets swept under the rug, something that just feels so important. It's going to be really interesting to see if other outlets pick up on it. Ross Culthart, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for watching.